Hello, everybody, and welcome to our coffee chat from Planet Fair. My name is Henrike von Platen, and today I'm very proud and honored to talk again with
Marcus Priest. Nice to see you again.
Great to see you, Marcus. Today I want to talk with you a little bit about EPIC. And so everybody knows what this means. Is EPIC in this sense stands for Equal Pay International Coalition. This is a coalition made up from UN Women, ILO, and OECD. And it started off in 2017, where we actually, as FPI, had the honor to host with the German ministry together the first inaugural meeting, so to say, of the coalition. And then in 2018, they launched the pledges for equal pay, and we did a pledge as well, and Novartis pledged as well. And now, just a couple of days ago, I could say, on the International Equal Pay Day, we had another event. It was held in New York, and it was about the reflection of old pledges to giving up new pledges. We'd made a pledge as well. Maybe we'll come to that in a bit. But I would like to hear from you, Marcus, what changed in your pledge from Novartis, from the first pledge to the second pledge, and how was the event? What did you feel about the pledges you heard?
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, it was great to be in New York for the event. I'm based in the US now. When Novartis first made our first pledge, I was based in the UK, so I've gone through a journey myself with the company and our commitments. And I think overall it was an inspiring event. I think when you looked at the kind of list of speakers, the keynote addresses were from two very inspiring women. So we had the Prime Minister of Iceland, and I think everyone knows very well about how forward-thinking she is individually and also their country. And then also the First Lady of Ukraine was there in person as well, and I thought, spoke very passionately, and also with a lot of hope for the future and the role of Ukraine women in their future economy. So I thought that was fantastic. And as we got on to the pledges, I think my general reflection was that they were much more specific this year, this time round, than in the past. That when Novartis first made our pledge, there were other people around us, and there was a similar sentiment. But I think we felt very proud of the specific nature of the things that we wanted to achieve. And I think in general, when I looked at the other companies, you started to see that come through a lot more. So a lot more specific commitments made. And then for Novartis, I think our renewed pledge really is a continuation of our efforts. I think we're very proud of a number of the things we've achieved, but we still see so much more for us to do, and for our kind of fellow companies, private employers out there to do. So, one of the kind of the recurring themes really is about us maintaining a real positive sort of gender balance in management and the impact that has on our overall pay gap. So that's a continued focus for us. I think we, against the backdrop of the new EU legislation, obviously Novartis being a Swiss headquartered company with big organizations across Europe, that's of great interest, and I think we want to try and build on that EU legislation. We obviously monitor it closely as countries implement it, but really start to build some of that thinking into our internal practices. So that makes up a big part of our pledge as well. And then finally, starting to really go beyond base pay, or salaries, just to really explore whether there's any potentially other sources of bias out there in our broader compensation framework. So that's the third focus for us as we look to the future. But Henrike, what about your pledge?
Well, I'm happy that you actually made it possible that we were there as well, because I couldn't go, and I had the honor that you actually read out our pledge, as far as I know. So that was brilliant. Thank you a lot for that. And you said they were more specific, and I feel that also about the FPI pledge. Actually, we at the first time in 2018 were quite global, quite general on raising awareness and collecting best practices, things like that. So very open. And I'm quite happy that we did all these things actually during the time, but it's not like measurable in a way. And there was one thing also where we said that we would hold workshops with students and go more into those young professional areas, which we did a little bit at the beginning, but then sort of stopped. So our new pledge now for 2023 to 26, I think it's the term, is more focused, even more focused on really implementing fair pay in companies, measuring it in a way, saying that we still, of course, collect best practices, but we want to really double the existing partnerships that we have so that we can have a bigger reach out, try to sort of make it more accountable in a way to see, are we actually achieving it? Because you can't measure collection of best practices. You could say we collected, I don't know how many, but how good are they? So I think that's more specific for us in this sense as well. Also with the focus on the certifications, really saying we want to get companies certified in a very broad way, and that globally, and really make epic moves in this sense, you could say. And I think I feel we are on a good way, but I like it also, like you said, you see that they are, when these pledges happen, you somehow commit differently afterwards. You shouldn't, I think, but it's the way it is. So it's okay. So you sort of make yourself a goal and set your steps, and you will probably reach it faster. I mean, that's management theory in so many ways. Why shouldn't we do it to reach Planet Fair? But what I also think would be interesting to hear, as I wasn't there, I read about some other companies that pledged, but was it like for you to hear what others were pledging? Was there something that you would say you could see that we're going to get faster to Planet Fair that will speed us up a bit?
Yeah, I mean, in the event overall, there were some familiar faces, and I think that's part of the coalition, right? For the people out there perhaps that aren't in the coalition today, one of the benefits is you're trying to achieve ultimately the same thing in society through lots of different forums. There were also some new faces for me, at least. So I was thinking about, there was a company called Gap Square, which is very much in the technology space. So I think, for many of us in the private sector, the role of technology is an increasingly, important thing for multiple things. So I think to have companies like that also pledging commitment in this space, I think should accelerate our ability to get to that fairer world quicker. So I think the role of technology was definitely a key takeaway. I think also just there were one of the other private employers at the event was Danone. And of course, you can read up on all of the pledges online. But one of the, part of their pledge, which may not seem as a big thing, but for me, if every company did it, it would make such a big difference, is this commitment to a kind of living wage principle. Mm-hmm. So we've looked at this at Novartis for a while now, and we see it as a foundational element. But clearly not every company does that today. So I think it was great for Danone to call that out, and I think by them calling it out, it will make other companies stand up and think, well, if they're doing it, maybe we should be doing that. So I think, there were a couple of examples that I sort of took away from the event itself.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. The living wage could be another topic we could actually take another talk on, because I think that really makes sense. I've been talking about it a lot of times and hear different ways. So I will keep this a little cliffhanger for the living wages for another one. And as time is running, we will, of course, with Coffee Talk, share the website of EPIC, Equal Pay International Coalition, and there I found it as well. We find all the pledges and also all the members. There are quite a few. I remember at the beginning when FPI got the membership in EPIC, we were the first not country. It was like the only country where the organization, the foundations, of course, at OECD, UN Women and ILO, but then there were countries like Canada and Iceland, and in between was FPI, and then companies were added, and then technology companies. So it's a really great mixture and a great exchange, definitely for anybody who's not in there yet to think about joining EPIC. Yeah, and any last word you want to give out on this topic?
Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned governments, and I think, as you say, they were there at the start, they'll be there at the end as well. And obviously, I think you know, the role of legislation has always been important, and it will continue to be. We saw the EU legislation in recent years. You know, one of the countries that's been there, I think, outside of Europe for a long time has been Canada as well, and they were well represented. But I think, obviously, being in the US myself, you know, it was great to see the representatives of the US government there in New York, and they also, I think, in terms of specific nature of their commitments, if you look at their pledge, and I was re-looking at it, but really this issue of female representation in certain sectors, they're really addressing it head on with some clear commitments, and also putting money behind it. I think the reality is sometimes you need additional funding. So that was quite positive to see from a US federal government perspective.
Cool. I would say thank you very much, Margrét. Marcus, sorry,
yeah, thank you,
where was my head? Thanks for having a coffee with me, and see you on another day on our way to Planet Fair. Bye-bye.
Bye.